But it is still clar. Is yours on? Hey, ke hloka di camera ha di re tla. Belinkana. Belinkana. Thank you, my love. Thank you.
It's inaccessible.
Hot man, my views, the views that I express are not my
We're
views.
just going to check.
They're not
check.
personal.
Yes, it's just going to be a chat. I'm going to be asking how
Shout.
the electricity tariffs influence your business. And then we can khotlela ho bona. Or have they put measures in place to assist businesses? Ka motlakase o yang hodimo. Re le babedi.
We have,
Supposed to be
yeah,
done.
we do. We do. Hence, they're not personal, but we go in deeper.
No, then that's.
I say like
that's-
meta art and culture, no. The meta art and culture, no. But now,
Oh. Okay. No, I couldn't do practice.
Papa, but have you looked as usual? I do love a fat, you.
No.
But among us, do like a fat. Sure.
Let's go to Mangaung Metro Municipality. They had to adjust their budgets with the. Hey, Sumo. That's who.
And get up our land that I don't go blood. Get
No, it's just for
up.
today. Ke kopa o lokise mmati fela fatshe mo. Thank you. Eh? Yes. Yes.
Rebabe.
Ha re hlaha re le four,
Rebabe.
e tlo tlhagisa the whole set.
Ah, me tell you, nata.
That's one, but
Send me how ke Harrington, ne? Sharp.
do you need makeup? There's the makeup artist over there. Leno abokitlikil jang. I'm just out here. Excuse? Kineki. Neki sana ko yun. Eh? Oh yeah. Why?
Ready?
That's who is that?
When I'm good.
Wow.
Yes. We are on.
Why is the speaker so loud?
Echo.
With the current tariffs looming in the Mangaung Metro Municipality, new tariffs for electricity, water, and refuse collection, property taxes, and taxes have been. Are we live with the bumper?
Sharp. Kwala di mic. Kated.
Mr.
Kick it out. Oh.
Yes, it's gonna go. I'm gonna speak first, and then it's gonna go to a bumper ad break, and then introduce you afterwards. I give the opening statement of why we're here. Ke dula ke tshohile mohlaena, mara nka se jang peace.
Teddy.
Ntate? Oh. Mr. Brian. Ntate Brian? Ntate Brian?
Ke mona ngwaneso.
Thank you, Ntate. Welcome to Burning Issues. Since I got Kala show already,
Right. No, I'm ready, ma'am.
thank you so much. With the current tariff hikes on the horizon, residents of the Mangaung Metro Municipality will have to adjust and tighten their budgets with new tariffs for electricity, water, refuse collection, property taxes, and taxes that have been approved by the Municipal Council in line with the 2021-2020 financial terms. Although these will only be effective hore di hlahe on your statement from the 1st of July, tariffs for the electricity have already been in place and have started being billed from the 1st of July, as been seen 3 weeks ago. Today on Burning Issues, we will be discussing the pressing issue of electricity tariffs, and we have taken the liberty of inviting NARSA and Centlec and some of our local community members so that we fully understand what is the current problem. Kamatlakas, welcome to Burning Issues. Thank you.
Tepo. Thank you. Sorted. Fifi twer. Ah, nalada.
It's on. Keep it on. Can, let me bring Tebogo in. As you guys saw, last week we proposed the issue of electricity and its effects that it has on local business, on local communities, and everyone else. And as per usual, ga ke shipile ke le esi, ke shipela le Ntate Tebogo Kotsi, who is the host right next to me with the most. Did I get the Strana thing ya gago right?
Well, after you kicked me out of your side, well, you got it right. Well, welcome to another episode, even though Teddy forgot to introduce me in the beginning. But I know he didn't, just we decided to change the scene. As you can see today, we've got our guests right in the middle. And it's going to be quite interesting because we'll be talking electricity tariffs, we'll be putting on the punching battles. But now, without wasting any time, I'd like to welcome our guests. And finally, by the way, Centlec did answer our call, and they did pitch, and I appreciate that. Even though other people didn't pitch, and we're still looking out for you. So on my right, Ntate Peter Harrington, who is a community member in Mangaung, and he's also a businessman, and a father, a husband. Let me not go further. And on my further right, Ntate Lele Mamatu, who's the spokesperson from Centlec. Thank you very much for honoring our invitation. And I hope he's going to answer all the questions that we're going to be asking. And then on my far right, next to your...
On my left, ladies one side.
You got Miss Pepani Melesi. By the way, her number is 082-082-415. Well, Pepani is a business lady. She's into catering and a couple of things that I know. And she'll be touching a lot also, Teddy, on issues of electricity, because with her type of business where you cook, I know that electricity and petrol, petrol, electricity,
the works.
you know. So we'll
And
be
on the
hearing
Zoom, we have Ntate Brian. Ntate Brian, welcome.
Thank you, and good evening to everyone.
Thank you so much for joining us this evening, sir. Now, before we start, with anything before I attack Anna, because this electricity issue is quite steep. I went on a trip to Bethlehem recently, and the weather was about -10. Mara how light to heater? How kalo light am heater? 10 imkakas. Uza ihingmakakas. Now, what does the Mangaung Metro Municipality say about these high tariffs in electricity?
First of all, Teddy, Mangaung Metro Municipality is not here. It's Centlec here today.
It's Centlec. And what is that? Because,
I know it's
Namtlakasi Kimakuleng.
sure.
Kimakuleng, and then I hear, oh, Centlec is responsible for the da. What is Centlec responsible for in terms of electricity in the Mangaung Metro Municipality?
Okay. Well, thanks to the, thanks and the colleagues here. I'm glad that you went to Bethlehem.
Oh.
Muscle Bay.
We'll get to Mossel Bay.
Because it's like everybody has been in Mossel Bay.
Yes, all of a sudden.
Yeah, we're bombarded with Mossel Bay this, Mossel Bay that. And for me, I've never been there anyway. I think I've gained interest of going to Mossel Bay and see what's going. It may not be the issue of electricity there only, but I think we also get cheaper petrol, cheaper food, and everything.
Everything
Because
seems cheaper in
yeah,
Mossel
things
Bay.
seem to be much cheaper
Yes.
in town. Well, coming to your question, as Centlec, we are an entity of Mangaung. We are, 100% owned by Mangaung.
Okay.
So whatever we do, it has to be, at the end of the day, be approved by Mangaung in terms of our businesses and so on. But, in that same arrangement, we've got a direct relation and link with ESCOM, as well as NARSA. Now, and it's unfortunate that the two are not here, because they'll have to speak for themselves, because they don't pay me to speak.
And I needed NARSA here.
Yes, but nevertheless, we normally, engage with NARSA, especially when coming to the determination of the tariffs.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, when the sun sets, the last word that comes is that of NARSA to say, this is a tariff that will be applicable for Mangaung as a metro, and we as Centlec, we are then forced to implement or bound by the decision taken by NARSA. Now, when situations like this crops up, like now, people starting to think that whatever that is happening it has to do with Centlec.
It's Centlec, yes.
But then, like as I said, these decisions, whether to increase or decrease the tariffs, rest with NARSA itself. So, as a regulator, you understand that NARSA does not only focus on work with Mangaung, but the rest of energy suppliers in the country. They have a direct link with. They even regulate the tariffs from ESCOM. So there's a perception out there that this is about Centlec and Centlec alone, and that's the point that we need to clarify from the beginning.
So in Mangaung itself, is it only Centlec, or is ESCOM also involved in some areas of electricity provision?
Yes, definitely so, because we buy electricity from ESCOM. So that's the relationship that we have. The electricity that we get to give to you as a consumer or a customer is the electricity that we buy from ESCOM.
So there are no people that buy directly from Eskom, or certain neighborhoods that buy directly from Eskom and not Centlec.
No, there are,
They are.
yeah.
And the tariffs differ between Eskom and Centlec.
For example, just before I come to that directly, in Tabanchu, is divided into two. There's a portion that is supplied by Eskom, and then there's a portion that is supplied by
Centlec, yes.
So you don't need to go to Mozambique to understand that, but it is right here next door, that arrangement. Now, I normally tell people that, because there's been some calls, by some of
Yes.
the committee members to say, let's do away with Centlec, we want Eskom here, And I've always been saying, just check with what some of our customers in Tabanchu, those that are supplied by Eskom, are paying vis-a-vis those that are supplied by Centlec. You will then see that even if you can bring Eskom in Mangaung tomorrow, there won't be any difference. Because what we are charging is exactly what people in Tabanchu are paying who are supplied by Eskom.
I think that's where the confusion came in.
I wanna chip in there, and I want to inform the public that, Teddy, we are both live on our page, on our FS on channel, and we're also live on Centlec. And
Oh, at
there's
the
already
company.
comments coming in.
Okay, okay, we will be taking your comments while the show is proceeding. Please do keep on commenting in the comment section on both Free State Online channel and the Centlec online channel.
But I also want to jump in on the issue of who comes up with the tariffs, since Ndatelelo was mentioning the issue of Centlec is actually an entity, yeah, Mangaung. Okay? So basically, let me summarize it to make it easier for people. Centlec is a business that belongs to Mangaung. That's how the municipality generates an income. So in that situation, Mangaung will sit down as a council and actually say, I want to put in 10 rand, 15 rand to push up. Just like shareholders, we'll sit around the table and give certain targets as a business to go and for you to meet it. That's my whole understanding. But now you mentioned the part, NARSA, which is, I think it's a body that governs that or that regulates that.
The tariffs
And we do have Tate Brian from NARSA.
from NARSA.
And who's the HOD of electricity and what prepaid billing, something like, I think along that line. He will, Tate Brian,
Erki kenan tati.
le kae papa?
Iten le kaya butwak.
Re teng hle na. Ke ne ke kopa fela hore o re tlhalosetse fela hore wena o representa NARSA. What does NARSA do, and o pele batho ba bang ha ba e tsebe?
All right, Abuti, Erki tlalosetse and I don't know if I can multilingua because Soto ke a se leka, mara I'm not the perfect guy to speak as Soto, but I will just come in kas mona le Soto and mix them up if you can allow me to
Please
do
mix
that.
them up, papa, ka o kopa.
Yeah, the National Energy Regulator, which is NARSA, it's a regulatory body that is been what we call the National Energy Regulator Act, which is a body that is responsible hore eka regulator motlakase, eka regulator pipe gas, eka regulator also the petroleum pipelines. But because today we are talking mainly about electricity and we are talking about the pricing of electricity, I will just limit that discussion to those points that have been given to us. So what happens is that, as you rightly said, is that there will be the shareholder being the Mangaung municipality. We regulate about 180 municipalities or licensed distributors. They would then, as a shareholder, will then make their cost structures determine how much they need for them to be able or run a business ya bona, which is the Pepetso ya Motlakase. And then once they've done that, they will then say to Centlec, as an agency ya bona, or Centlec, go and approach NARSA for NARSA to approve a price increase of, say, 10% for that matter. But before we can even do that, there is a process that starts where we approve the tariffs ya Eskom, because Centlec or Mangaung is buying their electricity from Eskom. So we first need to approve the electricity ya Eskom, and then what we would then do, after having approved that price increase to Eskom, we would then look at providing a guideline to the municipalities to say that because we have approved a 15% increase for Eskom, then for you, we will definitely only be able to approve, say, 16%. So even when they come to NARSA through their council and through Centlec, they would at least have a knowledge of what potentially NARSA will be approving in terms of what their cost structures look like. But within that also, the benchmarks. The benchmarks is the range of the tariffs between the lowest and the highest that we can approve. So when they come to us, they've got those two tools. One being the range of where the range at the bottom and the range at the top end. But that is only a guideline. They still need to then come and present a case. If, for instance, they need an increase above the guideline, they will need to show us the root cause why they would need to have higher tariffs than what has been approved.
Okay, Ndate, I'm going to ask you a series of questions.
Has been approved by for Eskom.
You're disconnecting.
And
Ndate
what
Brian?
would then approve for the municipalities would come generally because Eskom implements on the 1st of April, but the municipalities only implement on the 1st of July. So there is that kind of lag, and therefore there needs to be some kind of cost recovery between the municipality and Eskom. I don't know if I put it just giving long, but that is generally what we do as the National Energy Regulator.
Okay, sir. As a national regulator, nna jaanong ke tlo enka ke ise ho rona community batho ba fatshe, because re tumme ka strike without actually knowing the logistics of what it entails, how we work at the tariffs. Now, when we say 1 unit of electricity, re bua ka eng ene ya bokae? How much is 1 unit of electricity worth? Oh, unfortunately, we seem to have lost connection with Ndate Brian from NARSA, who is the regulatory body for setting up the tariffs of electricity. Hore re patala bokae? O kgutlile Ndate Brian? From electricity to network pandemic. We are going through a lot as a country. If it's not data, it is electricity.
Maybe we
But
set like 10 units, you'll never know.
we don't know. Maybe it might shed a bit of load
But-
for a second there.
Teddy B, I want us to bring it back to our community.
Our community,
yeah?
yes.
Because one of the most, there were social media posts last week and they were going haywire, and of which I kind of like screenshotted one person, which is Pitso, Baba Lomochwan, where he mentioned the part hore Centlec he asked actually a question to say, can Centlec explain hore why is he being charged R2.52 when NARSA has approved R2.04, and also why is Centlec so expensive compared to City Power? And you must bear in mind hore Gauteng has a population of over 5 million people, and Mangaung has a population of close to 600,000. But Ospepan, electricity has gone up, petrol has gone up. I hope we can get the president on the petrol one, but for now we've got Centlec. How has your business been coping when it comes to electricity? Let me put it that way, and it's winter, bear in mind.
Okay, Mike.
Nka mic o switch her on. Ke batla ba utlwa hantle, a ke fane ka number ha. Teddy, switch it on at the,
It is on.
okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
Put it closer.
it's very challenging for us business people, whereby when the tariffs goes up, you have to escalate as well in terms of your pricing.
Hold it up.
Oh, nyolose. Ke batla ba utlwe hantle, ba sa flopa.
Akira no. Hey.
Yeah, I'm also struggling to hear, colleagues, if you can use the mic, please.
Okay, sir.
Okay,
We have sorted it out. Yes,
Soon
ma'am.
we can-
Yes. I can
I'm
hear you.
saying we business people, we suffer a lot because of now when prices increase, we have to increase our prices as well. And the customers, it's whereby they will run away. So for me, it's a bit challenging because of now I'm starting losing the clients because of now. Even me, I have to increase the prices so that I can be able to pay the staff, I can be able to pay the rent, I can be able to maintain and buy the stock. So in that case, it's very, very stressful. Come to think of the COVID pandemic that we've been facing last year, and we've never worked for the whole year. So we still need to recover from the loss of last year. Now, when we're starting to recover again, it's lockdown, this and that, and the president himself, as young business people, and we suffered a lot because of like we've been employed many families in our business. So we wanted to sustain our life. But now, if the price is increasing, it can make the other one.
Lady budget is about to, they have to be re-looked at. Or can they afford to come to your business?
Yes, if 250, actually, it's a bit steep. It's a bit steep.
Yeah.
In which line of business are you?
Oh, sorry, I'm in hospitality.
Oh.
I have my own restaurant called Nels Grill.
Okay.
Yes, where we specialize in rabbit. We are the only restaurant in
Rabbit.
London that sells grilled rabbit meat.
Girl.
Yeah, banna.
ke
On to
short-
some blille
ke short
banna.
ke 1 point.
Yeah, I think starting from now, I mean, I don't think you will mind to buy it with 1 point.
Yes.
Since the tariffs is
You know?
rising up, and come to think of even the gas itself is expensive. So, and we can't deal without electricity. I cannot run my business without electricity.
Yes.
So electricity is a natural resource that is a necessity for human beings.
So
Not
tell me,
only is electricity expensive for a restaurant or a hospitality entity, and then you face load shedding where you need electricity to run the expensive electricity that you're buying.
Yeah, definitely. It's
That is tough.
I just froze for a bit. I get electricity to my freeze.
Mm.
And I need us to take a break quick, because there's technical issues that I need us to sort out because of electricity tariffs. But we've got a couple of questions. So without wasting any time, we'll take a break.
There we go. Perfect.
Mike,
Perfect.
Kgosego.
Perfect. The mic, they're saying, are
Eh?
they fine?
hey, Busigo bo ka change ba ba motshehare in the middle of a midnight. O ka di bona kaofela, izinyoka di ka tswa le tsone kaofela. But coming back to issue ya community, my brother, how has the whole electrical situation, I'm gonna call it a situation today, because we are in a serious situation as a country. How has it affected you and your business?
To be honest with you, this is a national crisis, if I can put it in that way. Because of, I'm just laughing at the day Lelanza Bueno, or electricity got another security camutu. Today in the morning, Mana have a meeting, or Shakalikitile, I hope and that's true. We are trying our level best for let's say.
Absolutely.
That is why it's a national crisis, and it's affecting us more especially more situations nowadays. What you call COVID and all those stuff. Much I said, electricity as a basic need, highly accessible to community. It accessible to those, to the haves, and it becomes problem to the have-nots. Because at the end of the day, it will create a situation for how only 20 ranta over it won't even last you for a night.
Yes.
So somewhere, somehow, it will create a situation that you try over flexible, but still, and I've just realized one thing now, when it's winter, the rate is high, and then
Very low.
Very low.
Yes.
And I was listening to that lady the other day. I indicated about it. Ahuya sami mulo una munzi and a talker in winter. For an example, how many 100 ranta? I need to be practical. I've got the tenants. I buy, for an example, Molowa 500 on last time for 2-3 days. Every time I get a call to say Molowa fella. So 500 randa even for Molo to the tenants. Outside value. That's why it's a national crisis.
I think this goes back to Ndate Brian. When I asked him, when we're talking about a unit of electricity, and how much is 1 unit of that electricity? Dr. Brian?
Yes, ma'am, I think Retloba a bit of on the technical side, but let me try and explain it in a language that people will understand. Electricity, when you produce it, we produce akadi watts. So a unit of electricity is based on the watts that you are using within an hour. So if you are using 100 watts, then you'll be charged for those watts for that 1 hour. And that's why we are calling it a kilowatt per hour. So that is 1,000 kilowatts per hour. And then it's unfortunately, it's more technical than the things that you buy in terms of maybe aureka pufu, because pufu you can't swara. And then you can't swara, why do some shelf more boroto kapantojwan. Mara, the difference with electricity is that you cannot see it. It only goes through the meter, and then you can only read through the meter. But the kilowatt hour means the amount of wattages that you have used within that hour, then you are charged within that. So it's a bit of a technical one, but that is what it is.
Ka 100 rand, let's say.
So
how
when you
much
say 100,
electricity are we looking at?
100 rand. Now 100 rand. When you say 100 rand, it depends on the current tariff that you are having. If you have a tariff, I'm gonna try and look quickly into the tariff Mangaung, because I've got it on my spreadsheet here. If, for instance, you've got a tariff of to quickly, of 1.76.
Why email function? Ha ke batla ho utlwa ka hore ke bokae?
Means R1.76 rands, one rand per 76 rands per kilowatt hour. Then you'll have to take that 100 rands and divide it by 1.7, give you the kilowatt hours that you're going to have for the month. So the higher the rate of electricity, the lower the kilowatt hours that you will get. So it depends on the kind of tariff that you are on.
Ntate Brian, what is the approved amount that was approved by NARSA when?
I'm struggling somewhere. Ke a stuck, ke tsebe le yang kuka mo ka mosadi.
Re a utlwa pa.
Yes, Abu.
No, I was saying, what is the approved amount that Centlec proposed in terms of the new tariff?
Okay, the approved tariff ya NARSA.
Divert Solank.
All right, Abuti re ko jwetse o na le
Njwetsa wena
different
Mhlophe.
tariff. Yeah, there are various customer categories. For instance, Ramamelan,
Hey.
For instance, let me start with the one. First one, it's a tariff called the IBT, Indigent Conventional Tariff, as an example. That's where I will start. It's 1.7691 per kilowatt hour. And that, remember, that does not include the value added tax. NARSA only added tax is approved by the South African Revenue Services. So that one is 1.76. So you'll just have to add the 14% VAT, and then it will give you the tariff for that customer class. And then the next one is 2.01, which is for the next IBT domestic conventional prepaid. And then you've got 2.04, I think this is the one that you referred to. I'm not sure, because when you spoke, you said that there was a customer that spoke about NARSA has approved 2.04, but the municipality seems to be charging was it 4 something or 5 something?
It's 5.2.
I have to get the details of that, but obviously if you take 2.04, if you take 2.04 and you add the 14%, it's only 2.32. Cannot be 2.50. So I would suggest, therefore, that you've got the details of NARSA. Please do send us that information. But our
So
approved
people
tariff
are being
is
cheated out
2.04 and not 2.40 something that was mentioned. But obviously deducting firstly the value added tax. That is the rates around which they have been approved. And the other one is for the bulk reseller tariff is 1.88. So those are the ranges that we have actually approved. And I saw also in the briefing that we got for this meeting that you've got rates or increases of 15 point something and 17 point something. But what we as NARSA has approved, the minimal that was approved for other customer categories was 4.04, and the highest that was approved was 14.5 points kind of sessions, whereby we read discrepancies, and then you can tell us we are being charged 14 point or 15 point something, but we know that NARSA has actually approved only 14.59. And to give you also the clarity, on our website, the national NERSA.org.za, you'll find the published tariffs that have been approved by NARSA. They are there. So you can confirm whatever tariff that you've got, you can confirm on the NARSA website. Anything that is not there, it means that there might be some kind of discrepancy that needs to be dealt with, and it can be brought to the attention of NARSA.
I have a quick question to Centlec, that there has been an increase from 15.61 to 17.81 from Centlec.
Ntate Mamadou.
I did not want to let that escape
Yeah.
because he says what was approved versus what
What's
we are
currently.
seeing currently in the tariff increases.
Yeah, no, I hear what Dr. Brian is saying, he's correct. That's true. And the figures that he just mentioned in terms of the, the tariff that, are there, like as he correctly said, that information is also on their website. The very same information that is on their website is the same information that is on Centlec's website.
But the figures are not the same.
But we have took the letter as is, signed by the CEO of NARSA, and put it on our website, so that there's no confusion to say we have either altered the information or whatever. And in that letter, it explains that the NARSA approval of 14.59% is what we as Centlec are currently implementing. And I think he has just extended an invite to say anybody who feels that is paying anything different from what is on the NARSA approval in terms of the tariffs, they have the right to approach them and lodge a complaint. And I can assure you that from where I'm sitting now, this is what we are charging. It's correct to say what you see there are prices or units that are not inclusive of VAT. And when we include VAT, then it takes you to that amount. But, and I can tell you that at the moment we are charging 252 per unit,
Inclusive.
Inclusive of VAT.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why Mr. Brian said the figures that he was reading were in exclusion of VAT. But then,
Just di batleha ka Sesotho, man. Our viewers don't understand inclusive, exclusive, by inclusive. Yay! It can say ing hore e hodimo haka.
Inclusive mama, inclusive kore ina le vete ka hare, and then exclusive haina vete ka hare.
Ke a leboha.
So basically,
You had a question.
ke kopa, basically, when you say exclusive, when you say inclusive, which is 252,
yes.
ne? When you minus the 15%, it will give us the 240 cent base card. That's what we paying Mangaung for. But I want to understand, because Tata Brian mentioned the part about the indigenous part. There's 3 categories that he mentioned.
Yes.
And the other one is the lowest that you can hear. But now, most of the people that are crying are based in the township, because you can see even on social media, when a person is buying electricity, I know tariffs they differ according to areas. But question is simple. When the board of Centlec sat down and came up with a percentage to add, bear in mind there's a pandemic that we're going through, there's high levels of unemployment, and electricity is a basic need. Did they consider the community of Mangaung when it comes to that part? Did they consider affordability? Because I know the CEO can afford it because he got a salary increment.
Absolutely.
But a basic person who's a domestic worker at home and earns as little as 2,500 rand a month and has to serve between food, school, transport, and electricity, did the Centlec board consider those people when it put up its markup?
But before that, I wanted to find out from the very same statement, as a community, I wanted to find out what NARSA, including the Centlec, a community participation in terms of feasibility study.
That's a very good
This
question.
is
Yes.
Problem of my understanding, maybe they'll speak in their own language, but somebody who's staying down their allocation, or say it's in tariff, it becomes a problem to us because of a community education, so that we should be in the knowing exactly the tariffs. Practical example, the indigenous.
Indigenous, yes.
The indigenous also, they're also affected. Everybody
Very much.
affected. Everybody's affected, whether you're employed or unemployed, it affects us. So question like NARSA, after those regulations, a feasibility study to find out what would be best for the community because of they're saving us. And also when we are saving them, because there was a proper communication. We are not even being part of decision making. Because at the end of the day, those things are affecting us as a community. Thank you.
Now, this is what I like. It's getting very steep now.
Centlec.
Centlec, according to you, sir.
Okay. The direct question or issue regarding public participation on the side of Centlec, because I think even NARSA, they have their own processes, and that Brian will explain that part. Normally, what we do as from the side of Centlec is when Mangaung engages in terms of its IDP processes, that's where Centlec also participate in that process. So we do and follow the programs that are approved by Mangaung in terms of public participation. And as you know, like as I said, we are an entity of Mangaung. So when engaged with the community in terms of rates and taxes, they do that through the process IDP. And that's where Centlec becomes part of it, you see. NARSA itself has got its own independent processes that they do in terms of public participation, which I think that the Brian next.
I want to leave NARSA out of it for now, because the situation is saying it's a community issue. Mutoko, a simple person, most of the community members don't understand what is NARSA and all that. All they know is ESCOM and Centlec and Mangaung, basically. So that's, I want to make it as simple as possible. And you mentioned the part, you participate through Mangaung. Bear in mind right now, Teddy B, that Mangaung hasn't been functional. We have an acting mayor, and Gauteng just appointed its mayor right now, but we still got an acting. Number two, there hasn't been any public participation from what we saw. Hence, it goes back to that question, how did the board, together with Mangaung, come up with that agreement to say, we're gonna put up the tariffs up until so much? Bear in mind there's a pandemic, bear in mind there's crisis in the city in terms of service delivery, but how did they come up to that point? Because even now, Centlec can't say they can't see the communities crying. Because there's a gentleman who posted, Tebogo Masakala. He posted about last week or a week before about this whole electrical issue, and you issued out a statement from your office, and part of that statement, when you read it, you can see how Centlec is responding to the Mossel Bay issue to say, why is it that I'm paying so much in Mangaung, but a person who's sitting out there in the coast, they're enjoying and they're paying so little? Even Gauteng is paying 190 something, 95. It's their unit price, but we're sitting at 235. This is me excluding your markup. Basically, in summary, is that NARSA has approved the 215. Centlec put up its own markup to actually push up the, from what I understand. But did you consider, as a community, this is a socio-economic business from what I understand. Did they consult, did they consider? Because I got 47 units, 120. My heart kind of like split in two.
I can imagine.
I bought one for 200 rand, I got 65.
Mike,
Yeah.
I bought mine for 200, I got 65.
65 units.
65 units, which lasts a day.
Yeah. Look, Mr. Ekoti,
Nasa later, Keres.
what we are saying is true. And I can confirm that when we put application before NARSA, those issues were looked at and those issues were taken care of. But then, let me just quickly address this issue of, because I see that we have now jumped from Mossel Bay to Gauteng.
I'm gonna go to Northwest now.
I was about to say
But I can
Mahikeng
tell
is
you-
also in the
I
mix.
can tell you the figures that we're having. Fortunately, Mr. Brian is here. He can confirm it to you how much the Gauteng residents are paying. You will be shocked to realize that it's not even nearer what you are alleging now.
But I can argue that because
And I can tell you that even if you go to various metros, you will realize that Mangaung is much even better compared to your Gauteng, compared to Cape Town, compared to Buffalo City, which is usually benchmarked with Mangaung.
but it's quite
So the 14% or 14.59% is not only a Mangaung arrangement, by NARSA, but it is across the board. You see, it only depends on, what a particular municipality has been paying. Even people that are being linked, like your Mahikeng and Mossel Bay, they will tell you that what they are paying now is not like, is far more expensive than what they were paying with the previous financial year. That starts from 1 July, of the municipalities. So this 14.9, we have checked it throughout with the CEO of Centlec.
but I'm gonna
And
come
we
back.
realize that it is not Mangaung or Centlec thing. It's what has been approved across the board,
But I'm gonna come back to this issue. You pay for value that you're gonna get.
definitely.
I get.
Yes.
And by the way, I need to compliment you. Centlec is one, when it comes to communication, Shem, they're on point. Even when you ask them on social media about load shedding, they always respond, and thank you for that.
At least,
But I'm gonna come back to that issue. Akgore. Yes, you can say people in Gauteng, there's some people that are paying so much money. Gauteng is an economic hub. It's got over 5 million population. It's understandable with over 1 million people stealing electricity. And I know we've got a crisis, the same crisis here. But my question, don't you think this new tariff hike, isn't it gonna cause problems for you in terms of electricity theft now? Because people can afford.
well, I'm already getting messages of people saying, I'm going to steal,
Even about Blel.
They're telling me.
You see?
They are there on social media, so some of them. They are telling us that
That's
they are
what
going
it leads to. Can you
and that is wrong, I must say it. And we will not encourage that to happen because the consequences of that, they are much better than, you having to comply with the... Look, we will all agree, we are in agreement that this tariff hike, it's a serious burden to our communities, especially like Ndate said, those who, are without means, it's a serious, when we understand that outcry from the community, it's a huge, remember, when you trace back or look back to the history of the tariff adjustment and readjustment, whatever the adjustment things that you may call. This one of 14.59 or 17%, as you may choose between the two, it's something on its own. We have never had an increase of double digits, but now we have double digits, and it's putting a serious burden to our communities. And this outcry is understandable because it has never been like that.
It's all about affordability, but I want to bring in,
Okay, I wanted to find out what is the position of Centlec in addressing this. As a community member, if you like, they would say, no, we understand, but keep on paying. Just keep on paying, you'll be fine.
Yes.
That's the impression
Yes.
that I'm getting. And it doesn't even resolve any problem. It's a crisis. And fortunately enough, many people are, but Free State, we are very polite. There was an unrest in Gauteng, we are not going to do that. So Centlec, they say leniency to the enemy is cruelty to the people. We are very lenient as a community. to you as a Centlec, and it trigger into a hurry. Now I cannot afford. I've got other alternative means, like they are saying, one-on-one to you all. We don't have to go there. But slowly we are getting there. I am not promoting that, but we are not affording. Whether you are working or not, whether on a guy, it doesn't matter. It affects all the things.
I wanna bring in Uzpepa.
Is there any way that you can revert back to your decision of that price increase?
That's what I wanted to ask you, sir. Has Centlec put any measures
Measures in place.
to relieve? Because it's not the first time people have
Yeah.
been crying about electricity and the tariff hikes and how much electricity costs in other places compared to Bloemfontein, but there hasn't been any communique
And
to
there
say,
hasn't been any
okay,
communication.
re tla fokotsa morwalo wa lona tjena.
Well,
Are there processes being put in place?
well, we'll have loved to do that, and that Brian is here. If he says, we'll give Centlec go ahead to reduce, because the 14.15 is coming from NARSA. We might have wished to have a lesser, tariff increase, but.
No, that are lukis, abuti, are lukis.
Okay.
Are lukis. We give a guideline. As NERSA, we give a guideline. And our guideline says that it will be 14.59, just as an example. But you as a municipality still has a right as a municipal council. You'll sit down and say, I've got this community, the people that are actually putting their votes on my behalf. I am going to assist them, because the guideline is actually like a cap, but it doesn't say to you, you cannot give them 10% increase. It doesn't say that because NERSA said 14.59, then it has got to be 14.59. I think it will be misleading to say that because NERSA said 14.59, then you are forced to do that. I think let's not do that.
Thank you so much.
What we are
Dr.
saying
Brian.
here is that NERSA says, in order for you to be able to cover your minimum costs, this is 14.59. But there are many other things that you can do as a municipality to say that maybe if we can reduce the cost of supply that we are having within the municipality, then we can reduce that 14.59 to something reasonable to our own communities. And we do understand, and I'm not trying to put blame on Centlec or any other municipality for that matter. There is a national crisis of electricity, as Ntate, I think, I can't remember the name, but Tatokensen Lamba Eblek has put it. It's a national crisis, but I think together we can have a conversation of how do we bring it down. But the NERSA does not force any licensee for that matter to say that if it's 14.59, it will be 14.59. Even when you look at your own tariffs that have been approved, there are tariffs that have been approved at 4.04% and not at 14.59. So I just really want us to correct that one.
Thank
No
you so
municipality
much,
is
Dr.
forced to
Brian.
increase at the rate of NERSA. NERSA says this is the cap,
Interesting,
and then you can always come up with a number that will be reasonably, so you must cover your costs. It is very important that you must also cover your costs.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Dr. Brian. Before we continue on that, I love the clarity that you just put through. We are going to take a short break and read some of your comments. And I can see the comments are coming in very strong. And we will deliberate after that. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with burning issues right after this break. on burning issues, and today we are talking the burning issue of the electricity tariffs in the Mangaung Metro Municipality. Do keep your comments coming in on Free State Online channel right here on Facebook, or you can go to the Centlec channel on their page. And I see there are comments streaming in. People have questions. Renana matata, renale di issue. Ntato Coates. Two some more.
Well, I'm gonna start with the first one. At the end of the day, Centlec don't care about the community and the people of Mangaung. It's money-making scheme where people must pay for all their luxuries and high salaries. Shame on you, Centlec. And Pizzo Pavallo has been shooting, and Pizzo wants to know. It's the same issue. Centlec doesn't care about people, and he feels sorry for the Centlec spokesperson, and that's what he's saying. And Juliet Colbert says, stop shifting the goalposts. The people of Mangaung cannot afford these rates. It's unsustainable. And Kevin Sade, looks like people have spoken. I cannot see any satisfied comment there. And of which, in summary, people are not happy with the tariffs that are going high. And by the way, we do take, if you look at the bottom of our screen, we do have a WhatsApp line there. If you want to drop in your voice note, please drop it in so that our panel can also hear. And Teddy B, I'm going to come back to the issue about Centlec doesn't care about its communities. I can't let that line, Pepani, you might know it. Any business person might know that the customer comes first, that the customer has to be listened to. And Centlec right now, the customers are complaining to saying, the tariff is too high. What's your plans about this high tariffs? Are you subsidizing an increment in terms of salaries? Because we also, earlier this year, we saw a post. It was published by OFM also, where they raised the issue of, your CEO he increased his own salary. So is the subsidy maybe increasing the CEO's salaries and a couple of bonuses for the board members? We don't know. I want to know. How's that issue, by the way?
Well, I will not want to comment on that. I haven't seen the article or the story. I will need to interact with it first before I can comment on it. But I just want to address the issue that has been raised by Ntate Brai and clarify this issue. Because now the perception is like the 14.59% is our initiative or our decision at Centlec. And I want to dispute that without any fear of favor.
Okay.
I'm sitting with a letter here, I can share it with you.
Okay.
That confirms that Centlec made or put its own application to NARSA. And the NARSA board sat and looked and went through that application, and eventually they arrived to a decision. Here, I can send it to you.
How much did Centlec propose on their letter to?
Yeah, I'll come to that.
Yeah.
And then the NARSA board approved the 14.59%, you see, that we had to implement. If they had, as Dade Brian is saying, wanted to approve something different from this, they could have done that. But this 14.59 that it was approved by NARSA. And this 14.59, it is the same approval that they've made to other municipalities. But the issue here is, that is why we are saying what NARSA approved is what we are implementing, because it is finally their decision. We could have made.
But the question is, sir, isn't that what you proposed versus what they approved?
No, we didn't propose 50.
They didn't propose the 14. I want to get to the story of it before.
Sorry. Let me come in and maybe clarify certain things, colleagues, because I think now it will be very, very unfortunate that we are having this conversation where it's NARSA versus Centlec.
Yes.
But we know that at the crux of the matter is that the people of this country are seeing high electricity prices. I think that's where we need to start at. I said when I started at the beginning is that there are two processes. One is to determine the guideline. And the guideline is the 14.59. That is the guideline. And then the second part of that is the benchmark. And the benchmark is you've got to fall within a certain tariff range in order for us then to approve that 14.59. And I think if we were to just not really play the game of saying it's NARSA or Centlec, if you look at some of the tariffs that have been approved, there were tariffs that have been proposed by Centlec at 14.59% increase. But these were limited by NARSA to 4.4%, meaning that a 14.59% is not a guaranteed increase. It is an increase within the guideline, but if you are within a particular bench line or benchmark, and if you are above that benchmark, we will still limit that. But again, if we read the letter, I think we need to be clear about the letter that was written to all municipalities and not Centlec alone. The letter just says that the guideline is not a guaranteed increase. It is a guideline, as it says. The name of a guideline says it is something within which I'm willing to accept, but based on the following conditions. So certain conditions need to be met before you can even go to that 14.59. But I think the most important part, this is not a Centlec issue, and I don't want to be sounding as though we are pushing the blame to Centlec. I think this is a national issue, and I think one of the commentators here have actually mentioned it. We are facing high electricity prices, mainly because the rising cost of coal, the shortage of that coal itself, the rising cost of gas, because sometimes we are short of that coal supply, and therefore we have to use more expensive diesel and gas. So these are many other issues that needs to come into this conversation. It's not only a conversation by Centlec and NARSA or maybe Mossel Bay or whatever. There are those municipalities that have got a better customer structure, whereby they've got bigger industries, and the industries can then because of their abilities, they are then able to cross-subsidize the lesser affording customers. And that's why you see sometimes that people in other municipal areas, the residential customers are paying lesser, because those residential customers are being supported by the industrial and commercial customers. So this is not just I think maybe a conversation that is only supposed to be limited to Centlec, but I think it's a national conversation, and I think one of the commentators have mentioned it. But clearly, what I wanted to put on record is that a guideline increase is not saying that you must and you cannot go below that guideline. That is really just the point that I wanted to make, colleagues.
Thank you so much, Dr. Brian.
You want me to go on?
Hey, please, continue.
But like
What is
Dr.
the
Brian
community
was saying, it's not about Centlec versus NARSA, because now it's going to sound like that. And I want us to be clear about it. It's not that. NARSA has set a guideline. Centlec did make an application to NARSA, and the amount that was approved, it was there. I'm going to repeat this. Centlec is a business. It's a profit-driven business for Mangaung, meaning they put up a markup to the electricity bill they are bought. That is why I'm saying when they reach that point where they say we're going to put in 10% or 5% or 0.5, how did they come up to that? But I've got another comment from WhatsApp. It says, this is from Morapedi, Motaung at Mel's Grill. It's another restaurant. It's quite clear that Centlec is careless about Mangaung community. Dr. Brian clearly states that as NARSA, it's more like they are giving out a benchmark, which is not a must for Centlec to force or to put place for a community among Mangaung. That's Morapedi. But I'm going to come back to this issue. And you did, before Dr. Brian came in, Dr. Lele, you were mentioning the party, you as Centlec, you did approach, of which any other municipality has done that. But now that you're seeing as a business, ha re ya ko Phepane a bona gore ba di-sales dia o kgona go shapa special a re say 50% ke le charge R1.50.
Yes.
You as Centlec, the community is crying. We cannot afford. Coal has gone up because we saw petrol on it's gone up. Petrol works both, coal works for petrol and electricity. And to transport, to send emails, to do so many things, we need electricity. And the community of Mangaung is saying the current billing is expensive. You are the right hand to the CEO. What is the CEO saying about it?
How do you bail us out?
That is what I had
Yeah,
asked earlier.
Parliament.
That's what I had asked earlier. Are there measures being prepared? Help, like, are you guys thinking of something to assist community?
No,
Hore.
Look, like as I said, we are concerned about the whole situation, and we are worried about the whole situation. But the reality of the fact is, as Nade Brian has said it, and I want to repeat it as well, there's cost to supply that has to be taken into considerations. For us to provide you with the service, the infrastructure part of it, the human capital part of it. We've got people that are, as I'm talking to you now, are on the street trying to provide you with a service. There's maintenance issues that has to be taken into account. So all those things, they have to be looked at whenever we arrive to a particular decision in terms of service that we have to provide. Because at the end of the day, we have to make sure that there's consistent supply of electricity.
Can I twist it a bit? How does Centlec generate its electricity?
No, we are buying electricity
buy
from
electricity
ESCOM.
from
You buy from ESCOM.
Yes.
Yes.
And then we supply to you.
So you're not.
Middleman.
So you're the middleman between ESCOM and the Mangaung and us as the community-based card.
Well, it could be like
Not
we are
middleman, one
It's
that.
not the middleman, because remember, he did mention that there are some areas that are still supplied by ESCOM.
No, what I'm coming back to, here's my question. We've got cooling towers, we've got generators that are sitting there, and I think I would safely say that's Centlec's property.
Yes, correct.
So what's stopping Centlec from harvesting its own electricity?
Well, you remember that for decades ago, that power station used to be, but now a business decision was taken that it could not be, affordable anymore by us as the municipality to continue with that kind of thing. That is a problem that, as we speak now, ESCOM is having with regard to its into. You see, otherwise, if we have to reopen that power station, it will need a lot of investment and cash that we couldn't afford.
Let's do the
But then
calculation.
let me address this issue of the middleman, the so-called middleman. I said it when I started here, that in Tabanchu, you see, you've got Centlec and ESCOM there. And you should be able to pick up, the what you call, the implication of, if I have to use that word, a middleman in that kind of an arrangement by saying people who are staying in Tabanchu are serviced by ESCOM, they are paying lesser than those that are being serviced by Centlec. So it therefore doesn't justify the issue of the middleman, because then you could be able to say, yes, because people who are serviced by ESCOM, they pay less. That's the benefit that, them being serviced directly by ESCOM. And this one, because there's a middleman, they are paying more because the middleman has to get his own share.
I'm gonna
of
come
which,
back.
at the moment, that is not the case.
I'm coming back to what my colleague Teddy said earlier. What measures, is there any plans to actually look into a way of making this electricity problem, easy for the
Much
people?
better. And the only way to do that, as from the comments up there, is to do away with Centlec. And buy directly from Telkom.
But now, here's the
Telkom
situation.
doesn't exist.
Utlwa ke re Telkom, Eskom.
My man, no. Let's come back to this situation. The city has to generate an income in order to provide service delivery.
Yes.
And now the city has actually came up with a body, which is Centlec, that generates an income for the city its own, for them to actually have money in order to do service delivery. Now let's go back to a simple basic 1 + 1. If you take 150,000 people, ne, and they each buy electricity in a day, and you calculate it with the current tariff, this is excluding VAT, this is the 214 that we were talking about, you're looking at 321,000 in a day. And then you times it by 30 days, you get at 9 million rand. What's stopping Centlec from saving R1 million per month and putting it into the substation to actually harvest its own electricity and subsidize the economy of Mangaung? Because currently, let's go back to Gauteng. Gauteng is looking into solar power. Northern Cape has got solar farms and all that.
Yes.
But here we are sitting with Centlec that is buying electricity from Eskom. Can't you, as Centlec, go back to Eskom and say, hey, Bafetu, this thing, can't you little pricing? And because right now, as much as I can compliment you and saying, when it comes to load shedding, communication, you're on point, but the people are not happy. What is Centlec doing about unhappy customers right now?
Can I make follow up on that?
Yes,
Similar
sir,
to what-
please do.
Yes, I'm still going back as a community member to say, Centlec habana a strategy, a helping strategy, says la being the community out. That is what we want most. Because the very same community, whether we like it or not, we are not happy and we are very much discontent about the whole catastrophic scenario as a community. So I'm thinking, Ntate and Ntate said, no, we understand the situation and all those stuff. Yes, we agree that they understand. My point exactly, what is the strategy point as an alternative to say, failing because of really Centlec, we are aware, they are all aware now. And they are also aware about us as a community, we are struggling. So the only thing that needs to be done, habana any strategy, alternative to say, hurry, let's meet a community halfway fair. That is that. Because unfortunately, whether we like it or not, slowly but surely, we are getting there for the unrest, electricity, of which we are trying our level best. Whatever the situation, says they're in Gauteng and to go KZN.
My lady political.
Yes. This is so intense.
It might be an issue that has to do with us, but I think that Brian, tried to explain it even much better to say this is a national problem, and I think it will be unfair to want to look at it as a Centlec
A
issue.
Centlec issue.
You see, it's a problem that is there national. The people in Gauteng, people in Cape Town, people in
Everywhere.
everywhere, they are crying. You see, because this is a national problem. This
I'd
is a
like to
national
put in a
crisis.
question in there
You see?
that my colleague brought up. Has Centlec looked into alternative power sources?
Well, we are discussing that. We are discussing
From solar
the issue of
plants
the renewable energy. We are discussing the issue of the solar powers and so on. Remember, there's also the issue of the IPPs. That the government has approved, and so we are looking in those other different avenues of alternative power supply. But it's a very long process that will take us time. The crisis, as you said, is now, is today. That we have to address, and this power or electricity that we are buying from Eskom, even if as Centlec we may want to say we want to put 1%, but
ESCOM is not doing that. ESCOM come to us and say, every month I want you, Centlec, to pay my 100 million for your supply in a month, you see. And if we don't do that, they should hold town, you see. So it's an issue that I'm saying we shouldn't look at it as a Centlec problem, you know, because Centlec is not generating its own power. Is getting power from ESCOM. And the rates that ESCOM is are charging us